Good evening. We left off yesterday in The Whipping Boy by Sid Fleshman in chapter 5. Jemmy and the prince had run away, and they had run into Hold Your Nose Billy and Cutwater. Billy pulled Prince Brat from the saddle and threw him into Jemmy. Raising the lantern, the man held it close enough that Jemmy could feel the heat of the flame. Billy was a big man, he saw, big and raw as a skinned ox, and he smelled like a ton of garlic. Not much of a catch, 2 sparrows, said Billy. But ain't they trimmed up in fancy rags, Cutwater? Ain't they, echoed the rattle-boned man. Got any gold in your pockets, lads? No business of yours, snapped the prince. Ah, but so help me, that is my business, Billy said with a thunderclap of laughter. Don't you know who I am? A clod and a ruffian, declared the prince. Worse than that, corrected the big man. Ain't you never heard of Hold Your Nose Billy? Famous he is, put in Cutwater. Put to song is Billy. Jemmy thought he remembered. Hadn't he heard ballad sellers fling that name about the streets? The exploits of Hold Your Nose something or other in verses by the yard? The highwayman, are you? The same. The murderer? Only in the line of duty, Hold Your Nose Billy chuckled. So you won't mind if we take your horse and empty your pockets. Not a copper between us, said Jemmy. A prince didn't carry money, for he had no use for it, and Jemmy's accounts were kept on the books. What's in the basket? Piped up Cutwater. Hands off, villain, snapped Prince Brat. Don't you know who I am? Jemmy gave the prince a sudden jab of his elbow to keep his mouth shut. Not a word. But the heir to the throne raised himself to his full height. Bow to your prince. Fog swirled around the lantern. Bow to what? Asked Cutwater. I am Prince Horace, and I'm the Grand Turnip of China, Cutwater snickered. Dim-witted villain, shouted the prince, I command you to turn us loose, or Papa will hang the pair of you in chains. Hold your trap, Jemmy thought. Don't you have a thimbleful of brains? A prince would make a fine catch for these rogues. My friend's muddle-headed, he declared. His paw's nothing but a rat catcher. But don't he put on airs, though. Got enough lip for 2 sets of teeth, chortled the big highwayman. Cutwater, take the lantern and fetch the horse. What do you reckon's in that basket, Billy? Plenty of time to find out. The lantern floated off. The evil-smelling Billy clutched each boy hard by the ear. Stir your legs, walk, and don't let me catch you on our turf again. Do I make myself clear? Clear as window glass, said Jemmy with a sigh of relief. If you'd be so kind enough to point us toward the river, I'd be ever so much obliged. Billy, came a shout from Cutwater. They ain't just common sparrows. Have a look at this saddle. Hold Your Nose Billy hung on to the boy's ears. At the horse's side, Cutwater was holding the lantern close to the saddle. Skin me alive, declared the big man in awe. That's the king's own crest. We stole it, horse and saddle, Jemmy put in desperately. Bosh, reported Prince Brat scornfully. Didn't I tell you who I was? Bow low, you fools, and be off. But the 2 men neither bowed nor fled. Hold Your Nose Billy threw a bushy-eyed glance at his fellow outlaw. Cutwater, what do you reckon a genuine prince on the hoof is worth? His weight in gold, at least, Billy. Chapter 6, in which the plot thickens. Wisps of fog clung like tattered rags to the trees, and then the forest cleared. But so thick were the pines that the morning sun barely touched the ground. Hold Your Nose Billy pushed aside a low branch, revealing a rickety timbered hut with a moldy thatched roof. There's our castle, your young majesty, he said, chuckling. Accept our hospitality. I hope you won't mind sleeping on the floor. The floor was hard-packed earth. Braided garlic bulbs hung like rotted ropes from the rafters. I'm hungry, announced Prince Brat. And feast you will, said Hold Your Nose Billy. Cutwater, serve 'em up our finest bread and herring. Jemmy had made a meal on bread and herring when he was in luck and felt hungry enough to ask for seconds. Prince Brat bared his teeth. I'd sooner eat mud. He reached for the wicker basket, but Cutwater snatched it back. What we got in there? Muttered the bone-thin man and threw back the lid. Roll your eyes at this, Billy. Meat pies, looks like, and fruit tarts, and a brace of roast pheasant. We'll eat like kings. Hands off, that's mine, the prince cried out. Was yours, yapped Cutwater. Locks, Jemmy thought. Hadn't the prince run away in royal style? He'd even brought a china plate, a silver spoon, and a silver knife for himself. Digging around deeper in the basket, the garlicky outlaw called out to Cutwater, Bring the lantern closer. What's this? In the gloom of the hut, the big man lifted out the golden crown. That's mine, bleated the prince. Was yours, corrected Hold Your Nose Billy, placing the crown on the tangled red nest of his hair. Prince Hold Your Nose Billy, Cutwater burst out joyously. He began to scratch himself as if his shirt were crawling with fleas, which, Jemmy thought, it probably was. We're dog rich. That crown, a trifle, scoffed Hold Your Nose Billy. We can be richer in dog rich. The empty-headed prince, Jemmy thought. Why had he brought along his crown? To cock it on his head and expect vagabonds and cutthroats to fall to their knees? The big raw-faced outlaw grabbed Prince Brat off the ground and took the heft of him as if he were weighing a sack of potatoes. 55 pounds by my reckoning, he said. We'll write the king a command, Cutwater. 55 pounds of gold coin and trade for his royal tadpole. Chapter 7. Being an account of a great mix-up. Cutwater rummaged around in the black oak chest of stolen goods. Handkerchiefs flew out like soiled white doves, worn shoes, ladies' combs, a cowbell, a junk heap. They've had lean pickings, this raggedy pair of highwaymen, Jemmy thought, and maybe not as smart and clever as the song sellers had made out. Here's a scrap of paper, Billy, said Cutwater, finding it in the pocket of a stolen coat. But how are we going to do the scribblement? We can't write. I've seen it done. Sharpen us a hawk's feather, Cutwater. I'm hungry, complained the prince. I'll have a veal pie, sir. Hold Your Nose Billy ignored him. He poked around for a beetroot and squeezed out the juice with his bare hand. It dripped like blood onto a china plate. There's ink for you, Prince. Take the hawk's feather and scratch out our message. Servant boy. Oh, sorry, missed a page. Prince Brat folded his arms. I don't take orders from curs and villains. Think of your pa, said Hold Your Nose Billy. He'll be ever so much obliged to know you're safe and hearty. I told you, I'm hungry. Well, you won't eat a bean till you do us this document. But I can't write, blurted Prince Brat. And crows can't fly, erupted the big outlaw. What a blast of garlicky breath. You're a prince. Kings and such like are learned to read and write as soon as they tumble out of the cradle. Don't you think you can pull the wool over our eyes? Hop to it. But I can't so much as scratch my own name. Jemmy shot a calculating glance at Prince Brat. His pesky hide hardly seemed worth saving, but a scheme had leaped into his head. He might be able to trick these mangy outlaws into letting the prince go, and Jemmy would be rid of Prince Brat once and for all. Give me the hawk's quill. I'll write the words, he announced. That's right, Prince Brat chimed in. My whipping boy knows his letters. Fall to, Jemmy from the streets. Hold on, said Hold Your Nose Billy, his sharp gaze flicking from one boy to the other. This ignorant whipping boy knows his letters, and the royal prince can't sign his own name? Something's amiss here. What you thinking, Billy? Asked Cutwater. I'm thinking these lads have mixed themselves up to flummox us. Jemmy lifted his chin arrogantly and tried to look as prince-like as possible. Nonsense. I'm a mere whipping boy. The big man rumbled up a laugh, showing a mouthful of yellow teeth. You take us for bedrock numbskulls? Certain as eggs, you're the prince, the genuine, straight up and down royal highness. Prince Brat's face turned red as hot iron. That ratty street orphan? He bellowed. That lowborn. Silence, Jemmy commanded. Can't you see the game is up? They're on to us. Hold your tongue. But I'm his royal highness. God, Jemmy thought, the haughty prince didn't have the sense of a gnat. Couldn't he see a plan afoot? Save your breath, snapped Jemmy. Stop giving yourself airs, you witless servant boy. Servant boy? Dare you address me? Bag your head, snapped Hold Your Nose Billy. Give him a kick, Cutwater, if we hear another peep out of him. Hand me the hawk's feather, said Jemmy. I'll write my papa, the king. Tune in tomorrow for Chapter 8, The Ransom Notes.